Top 8. In the playoffs, they are always very, very tough.
Bunda agenda komawo apparently. Parish Petty. Rubak Yamala. Yeah, Yamala.
Jermaine Rubak.
Yamala. Yamala bali oyo Jermaine Yamala. Asumwesi wakontu mwagala answer
but why is everyone happy that the dictator? They are just happy the dictator is losing.
I think everybody world over generally people support the underdogs.
I saw it in Gulu where I was. They would have been so dominant over the years in girls cricket. They didn't have any friends whatsoever. Whoever was playing them had the support of all the other schools. So sometimes it's a bit messy. Then someone reminded me that even you in your years, we never used to like you and Mwiri.
When you start around for too long.
But I told them that we never used to care because at the end of the day, we're still going to whoop you. So if you bring hate, the harder the whooping.
It's a good thing that the game has a bit moved on from really being dominant. Every other cricket here, much as of course it has remained in ginger with the boys, but
for the girls it's been a leader. Now of course they are everyone's hater. They hate. And then for the boys has kept changing a bit.
Yes, recently,
Mwiri is no longer that dominant. But I would imagine for rugby as well, like schools rugby, everyone will be picking on Osmak or Budo or Namilyango because they've overly been dominant. But when you're good, you're good. So
last time you told us how you went to Bodo for was it some cricket game? And you played a player who wasn't supposed to play. But then today the tables have turned. Bodo, because they were 45-06.
Joseph, I want to warn you that I am the host of this show and you don't want to annoy me, but welcome to another interesting episode of the Weekly Wowos. My name is Dennis Musali, your weekly host, and I'm here with two resident rugby experts. First, I'll start with Franklin Kawowo, who's our editor at Kawowo Sports, and Joseph Omuhumuza as well, who's a rugby expert. And there's been a lot of stuff happening last week. The guys, I wasn't here last week, but the guys gave you a lot of information. Sharifana Magoba previewing the Pearl of Africa Rally, won by Karan. There will be more information coming up against that. But most importantly, one of the big things that happening last week was the final of the rugby, the URIU Rugby National League. And of course, we're going to bring you the details, how Pirates was able to make sure they conquer Ginger Hippos at their own home at KPA in Bulgaria. So there's a lot of stuff we're unpacking today. It's going to be a very long show and a lot of people, but we are always going to make sure we bring you all the best, all the favorite from the stories being able to read from Kawowo Sports throughout the whole week. Let me start with Joseph. Joseph, what is your starter this week?
My starter, Alima Rohweza Didi, returning to that scrum, holding it very well. He really nullified the Hippos' threat at that scrum.
Who is
That's
Didi?
My starter.
Who is Didi?
You didn't see Didi on that scrum?
Yani.
Didi and you see, Didi usually plays at the tight
I saw something
position.
about him on Kawowo, and I'm sure our producer will find it.
Yeah, so Didi usually plays the tight end position, that is position 3. But then this time he was playing one in order to quell that threat, that is Fahad Maido. And indeed the plan worked because by extra time Fahad Maido couldn't do anything. He was very tired. Then the other prop, Ariho Mumza, we have talked about him multiple times on this.
One of your top 5 signings of the season.
He also held that scrum very well. So the one-trick pony couldn't come to town this time around.
That's a video of Didi, and I'm sure you've seen it on the socials of Kawowo Sports. At the end there, he sort of put down his shades. It's like, who was saying what? Exactly. Top class there from Didi. Who was saying what? But a very good one. A lot and more information coming up here about what happened on Saturday at Kings Park. A lot of stuff off and off the field as well. I saw guys enjoying in the Kawowo group. I wasn't in town, but they both threw a party when some of us are not around. But frankly, now your starter for the week.
Oh wow. My starter, I think, is a bit on a sad note. Basketball lost another player. Jonathan, actually, the third bit about it is that I saw him from a distance at Kings Park that Saturday night, actually Saturday, and as he was leaving the place, I think he got into an accident, and he died at Mukono Hospital, Mukono Church of Uganda Hospital. Jonathan Obukunyang has been playing for UPDF Tomahawks. A good guy, a jolly guy, a positive energy. He was former at UCU Cannons, and it was really sad. Of course, Saturday being what it was, I slept a little bit late. So, of course, in this era of hours, when you wake up and your first thing you're doing is sliding up a phone to see what you missed during that time. Wake up and the first message that popped up was people in the Warriors group, in which I'm, of course, part of, Warriors Basketball Club, and it was the sad news of his passing. Very, very unfortunate. I can't imagine how my friend Martha is feeling, who is, by the way, a friend of Kawowo, Martha Ngoku, the sister. It is really sad. A young man has gone, Buki. Sad, very, very sad. There will be a vigil tonight at their home in Chira, and then burial will be on Wednesday in Bustema. Very, very unfortunate. We lost another good guy, jolly, positive energy. He's no more. Book is no more.
Yeah, unfortunate there, and our condolences, especially from the Kawowo family to the family of Jonathan. Sometimes I feel like every week we have to sort of do some RIP for someone. Yeah. But we've lost a couple of people this year in the sports circle. Ronnie Kayondo from rugby, now Jonathan from basketball. So, but our condolences to him and to the family, and we hope that they can be able to pull through. Yeah, for sure. And the UPDF Tomahawks can, somehow do something just to remember Jonathan, and may his soul rest in peace.
Amen.
Starting us taking the bar a bit low there, Franklin. But for me, I think my quick one, and I'll pass it quickly because I know the football guys are going to come in and talk about it extensively. A story by Joel Muita where champagne on ice for Vipers because they could not win on the road in Injero. And just before we came on the show, I had Kyle and Kojachi Young trying to speak about it. Like, the if part in sports. Would have an interesting end to the season. But I think ultimately, I still have faith in Vipers pulling it off. That is probably just their, if I can remember correct, it should be only their third loss this season, if I'm not very wrong.
They still have to play Chitara, and if Chitara does their thing,
a defining week for them. They play Chitara in the league. Yes. And also play Chitara in the Uganda Cup semi-final. So, but anyway, I'm sure
you're talking of how it would be interesting for the league again to go to the final and all that. Chitara, we are behind you. Make the thing happen.
You and who?
Chitara, me, I'm not behind you. Venom's all the way.
Myself and Edwin. Strong fan of Chitara.
You and who?
Edwin.
But the thing is now, Chitara will have the benefit of having the other 14 teams in the league, sort of rooting for them.
I don't know if they're even 15. Of course, the three don't care already. Waxo Giants doesn't care, Bright Stars doesn't care, and so does Mbari Heroes. Those ones are already gone. They're not part of it. They are in the big league now. The rest,
I think there's a sort of there's a vibe Chitara brought last season of dismantling the status quo, and since then they've had that goodwill. Because I don't remember. I remember a couple of seasons back when Chitara had just come into the league, and we hammered them, I think 7-0 in Lugogo. Yeah. But the talk of that particular game was that even when they were losing 7-0, They didn't still care. They were still passing the ball from the back. They were not kicking up front to just waste him. They're like, even if we're losing 7, we'll still play the way we want. Yeah. But a lot of that stuff coming up with Kyle and Ismail Chionga when they join us a bit later. The here and now is these two gentlemen are going to tell us what happened on Saturday at the King's Park. Let's be kind and start with the ladies. There was a ladies' game before the men's game, Joseph.
Yeah, there was a ladies' game. Black Pearls obviously won that game to regain their top position in the league. Remember, on Wednesday last week, the Thunderbirds of Chadondo actually sponsored the Nile Rapids to come to Kampala so that they can play them and start pads.
No, please.
Yeah,
tell the whole story, not have sponsored them. Why would I sponsor another team?
Of course, teams in the league have been having challenges with the transportation and all that. Yeah, so the Nile Rapids communicated to Kampala that we shall not be able to travel from Jinja.
The Nile Rapids is a team from Jinja, yes.
We won't be able to travel from Jinja to come and play that game on Wednesday. So what the Thunderbirds did were like, no, it's okay, you come and we beat you. So they sponsored them for that short trip from Jinja to come to Kampala and beat them 68-0. Because it was important for them to get that bonus point against the Nile Rapids. When you get a walkover, you don't get that bonus point. You only get 4 points. So it was important for them to get the full 5 points so that they could take the lead on that table, go same points with the Black Pearls, but they have a better points difference than the Black Pearls. So yeah, it's all going to go down this weekend when they meet because it is the final game of the season.
Final game of the season. Where's it going to happen?
For the ladies, it's going to happen at Chadondo. The Thunderbirds versus the Black Pearls. It's really a final. Let's call it a final. Being the last game of the season, they have the same points. So whoever wins that game automatically wins.
So Thunderbirds have to win to dislodge Black Pearls. Yeah. Okay, we'll wait and see what happens. But that's very interesting where you pay for your opponent. Usually you'd be happy not to spend any money. But clearly these are guys who decided to spend money to get the result.
Feeling a little bit positive, given that the star scorer for Black Pearls moved on to Japan. And they've said, I think we have a chance of having a go at Black Pearls in the game where, Emily Lecroux is not there, but you still have
Can
Thunderbirds do it without? Can Thunderbirds do something against the Black Pearls who are without Emily Lekuru?
No, they cannot. First of all, no, I'm very sure.
I like the way Joseph talks. It doesn't mean his words.
That's a disclaimer. I'm a Black Pearl supporter, so let us get that out of the way. Yeah, so they cannot because in the first leg, the Black Pearls convincingly beat the Thunderbirds at Kings Park Arena, even getting that bonus point. So in the return fixture, when they meet next Saturday, I am very positive that the Thunderbirds cannot do anything to the Black Pearls. As a fan.
As a fan.
I'm glad that is out of the way.
He's put his disclaimer just to make sure that we know where he's coming from. But let's speak about the final of the men's rugby season. Cobs are taking on Ginger Hippos. Pirates taking on Ginger Hippos. Cobs was my team until Ginger Hippos ran over us. But Pirates taking on Ginger Hippos at the Kings Park Arena. What a match, first of all. What a game. But we've been speaking about people who wanted to make moments. Maybe they wanted to make you wait longer. But speaking about the game in particular, let's start with... when I saw, I was following, of course, on Kawowo, and we kept checking every time. Guys would say, hey, the rugby. So we'd go and check the scores, and we're like, hey, extra time in rugby. Okay, as far as Joseph, don't be annoyed, first educators. We didn't even know there's extra time in rugby.
Yeah, so there is extra time in rugby. Okay, let me take you back a little bit to the sevens. For example, in the sevens, if 12 the match is tied and then they go to that extra time, usually the first scorer wins, whether a drop goal or a penalty or...
That's what I knew. That's what I asked Franklin, actually.
So that's what happens for the sevens.
I've seen that in sevens.
Now, for the 15s, you have to play both halves. For example, if you remember Rugby Africa Cup, Uganda's last game against Senegal, we had to go into that extra time, and Joseph Arido came to our rescue on that occasion. Yeah, so also on this occasion, they had to go into that extra time, playing 15 minutes per half in a game that had ended 23-23. Yeah. At full time, of course, 23-23, and they go into that extra time where it was very crucial that you have a proper bench. if you're going to win that extra time. And I think Franklin can expound more on that, on the importance of the bench, because of course he's a Pirates fan, and I hope you don't hide it. Today we are here to mention our team.
You said he's a Cubs fan, or is
Yaga Kumpairis.
the man supports anyway. Is home people. But Franklin, from what you saw on Saturday, Pirates, how are they able to overcome a very determined Ginger Hippo side?
Yeah, we have said, I think I've said on this show before, is that rugby is a game of numbers, but not just numbers, strength in the numbers that you have. Obviously, a team is allowed to just up to 60 players, okay? How you put together your squad will determine how strong you are as a team. Of course, there are going to be games where you need your bench to be extremely strong to come and provide that extra punch. I think in terms of preparations for this particular season, and I said it earlier, is that Pirates were more prepared as a team for the longevity that was coming for the season, in terms of the quality of players that they have that start and the players on the bench. When you have Ivan Magom coming off the bench, you know that team is good. I mean, the quality of Ivan Magom. When you have
Ivan Magom would start in any other team.
Even in Pirates itself, he should start. He can start. When you have Buju, who has been a top scrum half this season, and he has been in the league for a while, throughout Buffaloes and all that, coming off the bench, as you have Desire Era coming off the bench, you know that alone is a very, very, very strong team. And in a game where you know it is going to be tactical, in our preview for that final, we say that it is first of all going to be a very close game that might be decided by very, very small margins. And indeed, that is what the game was. But the difference came at a time when Hippos were running out of energy. Pirates were just reinforcing. And
in the key areas, right?
In the key areas, yes. And that was the difference. Hippos ran out of steam in extra time. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't move. And yet Pirates had very, very, very many fresh legs on the pitch, and it was always going to be difficult for Hippos to go that extra 30 minutes.
But Frank, you see, from the very word go, I think they were also beaten mentally. When they go into that first scrum of the game, it was around after 3 minutes when we had the first scrum of the game. It was a very open game. So they go into the first scrum, and Hippos, thank God we are not allowed to speak French here, but Hippos, they go into that first scrum. Hippos cannot push for their life. They couldn't dislodge Didi and Areho Muhumza, and that's why Didi is my start of the of today. So they couldn't push that scrum from the word go, and that was the theme for the whole game. Their scrum didn't dominate at all. In fact, in the dying minutes, they were even more tired. They only had Sean Mubiru on their bench, on the Hippos bench, and he's no match. Of course, he cannot fill the shoes that would be left by Fahad Maido or Okelo.
When you look at the changes that Pirates made, especially in their front row, what they wanted was hold it, be stable. That is all they wanted from their scrum. Hold it. If you don't move, you know Hippos now have to change on how they approach their scrummaging. And that was a very, very, very good, I think, switch from Marvin Odong in changing a little bit in his front row, especially to get Didi in. Like for him, it was hold that scrum, don't move it, and then after that, it means by all means, even if it is Hippo's scrum, they're going to get out the ball very quickly, and they're not going to move you to get that confidence.
Yeah,
and from that first scrum that Joseph talks about, you'd feel that, you know what, this scrum is not going to, and every time they called for the scrum, you know, it was just put it and get out the ball. I thought that was very smart from the Pirates.
And I don't know if our producer can play that again. That's the scrum that Joseph is talking about. Those that don't understand rugby may not understand the tactic of these guys are stronger than you. If you have big men in your scrum, then it is very easy to dominate the other team.
Yes,
But
and
if you just look at it there,
scrummaging is a skill. That was in extra time when Hippos couldn't hold anymore. They were out of legs. But
the speed there.
at the start of the game, you know.
Timothy Kisiga just put on the afterburn there and just cut through everything.
Yes, and that is the thing that Magom brings to the team, the ability to hold on the ball, hold it until a perfect run comes from Chisiga. Okay, and look, all Chisiga has played
in real time. Looks too genius. I don't know how that happens, but because normally when you're running, there are people. He's running through bodies. It's not like he's running through, but he's running through bodies, and there's like sort of he just saw a small window of opportunity, and then just. Pew.
Yes, and to identify that space, you have to be patient enough. You have to be patient enough. You have to be smart enough to see how the defense is going to react to your run. You're running the opposite side, and the Chisiga who is coming is running another line. And because you're the one holding the ball, the defenders are going to be more attracted on where the ball is going. And because you're kind of faking the pass out, so they'll be drawing towards the outside. And when you just make that switch to Chisiga, the defense is pretty much beaten.
Everyone is so flat-footed. But
And
just
I
a funny
think, from that very sequence, if at all, producer Fred, we can have that again. That sequence of play alone sums up the whole game. One, Pirates dominates that scrum.
Yeah, true.
With the replacement front row of thingy. Lubega, Edson, and the other players. Of course, you can also see Desire in that back row. Then when the ball goes out, of course, Bojo plays it out. Bojo was a
replacement.
Yes, it was a replacement. Bojo plays it out. It goes to It goes to Jones Kamiza, another substitute, who plays it to Ivan Magomu, another substitute.
Yeah.
When you have that amount of quality on your bench, and then the opposite team cannot respond, you're definitely going to win championships.
And as you can see there, Desire winning the ball out of the scrum immediately to give the advantage to Pirates, and then the rest is absolutely. Then look like a piece of action from extra time. It looks like in real time. But I want to find out from Joseph, from you, Hippos, what could they have done different? They've had really a great season, and for them to get to the final was no mistake. They beat a very, very good Cops team. What do you think they could have done different for them to walk out with the trophy from Bulgaria?
Okay, maybe it's not a one-game thing. Maybe that is something they'll have to work on, what I'm going to say. But I feel like when we talked about that first scrum, after like 3 minutes, Pirates holds it. Then Hippos gets a penalty, and they choose to scrummage again. I think they were baited into what? Into scrummaging. Like, you lose your first scrum, you have to try and prove a point that you're the strongest scrum. So that is one key lesson for me. They have to learn from some of those mistakes. For example, their line out, when they brought on Moses Mononozi, they were throwing the ball at they were throwing at 6.
Yeah.
So there are 3 pods, 2, 4, and 6.
Yeah.
So the thrower can either throw at the first person who is standing at the 2, at the middle person at 4, and the other person at 6.
At the far.
Yes. So they were throwing all the time. They were throwing the ball at the 6, and they were losing that ball.
Yeah, I was going to say that's very risky. Eh?
Yes, and they were losing that ball. The person who was defending in front there on that line out.
Do you stop? Let me still as a fella. Do you stop throwing to the first guy? The first guy is called number 2, right?
Yeah, the one
position. The jumping
is it
position.
because you're not good enough in terms of pushing? You don't want to, because I normally see when this guy picks it up and he goes down, you sort of hold the ball and try and push a bit. Is it because now you feel that you're not strong enough to resist?
You see, that is a tactic that we rarely use, the maul. We rarely use it, and when Cobbs used it in that semi-final at Legends, Hippos had no response. They couldn't defend that maul. But back to my point, Rujumba was jumping very well at 2. As the first jumper, he was jumping very well. And the only person in front there who was applying pressure was Desire Yeda. And there was a prop there carrying Desire, and I shouted at the top of my lungs like I'm not Okay, of course I'm a Pirates hater, but we all know that that boy could not carry desire.
Clearly,
there in front.
that hate to watch party didn't go well for
It
you.
didn't pay off. We all knew that that boy can't carry desire in front. Keep on throwing at that number 2. Get your clean ball. Rujumba will go up in the sky and get you that ball, and then you play on. Yeah, but they didn't learn from that very mistake. They did it thrice. They lost the ball 3 times on all occasions.
Two-legged final, is it fair enough, or a final should it be a shootout so that both of you have, you know, sort of home advantage and home disadvantage and a disadvantage away from home?
No, the final should be a one-off. And also the people that were complaining why it was at Kings Park, next season make sure that your team finishes first in the regular season so that they earn the rights to
What if
the
it
right
had
to
been
host.
what if it had been like 3 and 4 playing in the final? How would it
Three-
work?
three-
The person
three
who
would host.
finished third would host, right?
Yes, they would host.
Ah, okay.
Actually, Heathens and Hippos would go to Ginger for that final.
Ah,
Yes.
okay.
But,
Interesting.
But then Joseph talks about what Hippos could have done, but in all honesty, I think Hippos game plan had the game plan of their own. I want to build that with asking for the second scrum. They first wanted to be certain. Did we just fail to push, or the scrum is actually strong from their side? And I thought after that second scrum, they realized they are not going to be able to push Pirates over. And every time they had the scrum, whether it is off, knock-ons and all that, they got the ball out very quickly because they knew for sure that Pirates were not going to move. And so the ball had to come out very quickly.
Very quickly.
And in doing that, I think there was a lot of usage of backs by the Hippos this time, and not therefore as they have always done. There was a lot of usage with the backs, and it's not a surprise that it was wingers that scored for them. Okay, and their security of the racks to be able to get Aziz Bag and get that ball out quite quickly to the wingers, I think it was quite perfect. They moved on so quickly from the fact that the scrum is not going to move, so we have to use our backs to try and create some chaos for Pirates. But obviously, as you know, there was no space in the midfield at all. You cannot get any space where Massa is operating.
Minister of
Okay.
Defense.
That was going to be my last question to you guys, especially because on social media everyone was saying Massa has played the game of his life. Make me understand how he played the game he plays at 12, right?
Yeah.
How did he play the game of his life in this particular final?
First of all, let me take that. First of all, in defense and attack, he was brilliant. We all know that he's a very good defender. We all know that he can carry the ball, but yesterday he was very exceptional. Too bad for me, this time he didn't kick, but he had made it a habit to kick. For a big man kicking, it's quite hilarious. Yeah, but then he was carrying the ball very well. He was defending very well. He knew that this was a one-off and they had to win it. Then when you look at his opposite numbers, the centers their side, they quite lack the experience in their centers. Even that famous video of him bumping off someone, that was a replacement center. So when you have the experience of Massa this side with Chisiga, then you have Odoi the other side, very young boys. Yeah.
I mean, hats off to Isaac Massa in a brilliant final as well. For
The real, I cannot praise Hippos enough for how they were quick at adjusting from what they are known to do to something else that they have not been so comfortable doing.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, the realization that our forwards attack is not going to work as much unless try to get this ball moving. I thought that was a very good call from Charisma. Okay, to get that ball moving. And actually, the skill passes that even Aziz was making to make sure that the ball gets out very quickly to create some sort of mismatches after identifying in the same finals that there could be some space with some space to work with when you have a young guy, Jeremiah, on the wing defending. You know that there is something to exploit there. And when they scored that first 5-pointer, you would see that they were looking for it. It is not something that is that came by mistake. Okay, it was very intentional, and they kept doing it every other time.
Yeah, not
But you see, the Hippos forwards have been so good this season that we actually forget that they are more of a sevens team. They know how to run that ball very well in their backs. And that is something that Aziz did very well, Yassin did very well. I'm still not convinced by their fullback, Bruno Chisule. Maybe they can improve him or do better. Yeah, but that's it.
yeah, a brilliant final at Kings Park, or missed penalty there by Hippos.
Absolutely.
Penalty conversion. Must have been a conversion.
It was
a penalty.
But,
But I think the power of that is the Minister of Defense, Isaac Masana. The power of Pirates winning them the final to earn them a title at home. I promise you guys, we are going to have a full show just to review the rugby season. Joseph and a couple of guys will be here to tell us how the season has gone down. All the good, the bad, and the ugly will be on that particular show. So be very, very interested next week. It will be everything will be exclusively rugby. And just before we go away from the rugby, Joseph, you wanted to say something about Mwiri?
Yes, Busoga College woke up very early in the morning today to collect an ill from King's College, Budo. They lost that game 45-6. Then also, I think by now we already know the finalists. It's going to be the final, a repeat of the Central League. Namilyango will be looking for revenge against Budo in that national team final. Of course, a notable mission is St. Mary's College Chisubi, who couldn't make it because the administration said they won't be able to play, and as punishment for the indiscipline that they displayed when they hosted Budo at home in Chisubi.
Wow, interesting. Well, and that is from the Uganda secondary schools games that are happening in Ngora. Is the rugby happening that side as well?
Yes.
Ngora and Bukedia. Those games are being hosted by Ngora High School, and they are partnering with Bukedia to host the school's competitions. Mwiri, I'm a bit shocked that we're even in the semi-finals of rugby, but I think we'll take an any day against the King's School.
Namilyango has beaten a certain team that was putting on black, yellow, and red. No, they are putting on black, yellow, and white. Is it? They are putting on the losers uniform from the last weekend, and now they come back in that Hippos 2 uniform and they lose again. So maybe it is the uniform.
Why do you have a problem with ginger teams? Why do you have a problem with ginger teams?
Next time you ginger, you may not be safe. But but I saw some consolation on one of the Mwiri forums. So I guess like, hey, at least we've qualified for the East African Games, so we can take the L any day.
That also means that you're going to collect bigger L's.
From those Kenyan
Then you
schools.
have the opportunity of playing Kenyans now.
Yeah.
You're now going to play the
But
Kakamegas.
the last time I was in Mwiri, actually, they told me that I think Mwiri has a collaboration with Walukuba, with the Walukuba team. Yeah, so probably they, I don't know, I'm not so sure, but I'm thinking there are a couple of young kids that they've had some sort of rugby experience in the league and stuff.
Something good is happening with rugby in Ginger.
Yeah,
I think in the next few years, Ginger rugby is going to be as serious as their cricket and football, obviously.
Exactly.
And I think that is a good thing for the city to have a breadth of sports that the kids are involved in and at the highest level nationally.
Yeah, you can be very dominant at. That has been the rugby talk, and like I've mentioned, next week we'll be back with a full preview of the rugby league season with Joseph and his friends. They'll be here telling us, like I mentioned, the good, the bad, and the ugly of what has happened in this particular 15th season, because the 7th season will be coming up a bit later.
Yeah, so when we come back next week for that Rugby Wowos podcast, obviously Impis would have traveled to Ishaka to play the KIU Crows. They would have come back with a win, so that is also something to look at.
I know yes, that's all but it's okay. I mean, given they're fighting to come back to the table of men.
No, we are not fighting. We are actually saying. See you next week.
Frankly, it's even lost for words, but that rugby exclusive will be coming up next week, and we shall have some very, very exciting guests for you as they preview the rugby league season. But we'll quickly switch up things, and we'll still stay with the schools competitions, because last week I was in Gulu for the annual Girls Schools Cricket Week. 16 schools in Gulu City. Amazing place, Gulu. I must say that my friends who come from Gulu, you have a very lovely city.
Why do I gotta vibe?
No, but very, very Gulu. I didn't even see a pothole in Gulu yet. Compare that to Kampala City, but a lovely, lovely place. The weather a bit difficult for us to manage, but very, very good experience. 5 different grounds were able to host the tournament, which in itself for the first time showed some growth because the facilities were good enough for the young girls to be able to compete. But at the end of the day, Olida very, very strong for all the other schools winning their 4th title. Should have been their 5th in my opinion. They should have won last year at home. Unfortunately, they lost out to their fellow counterparts, Light SS. But Olida winning that title. And I don't know, Franklin, you were following. What did you make of the action from the young girls for those for the last 7 days?
Yeah. To start with, you see the difference in the difference in quality of the girls who have been part of the under-19 setup for Uganda, and then you're talking about the likes of Nandera, of course the girls at Olida High who have been part of the under-19 setup and are still playing schools cricket. It is always going to be very hard to have a chance against a girl who has had exposure at that level and then playing girls who are just learning to bowl, girls who are just learning to bat. And obviously, in terms of being intentional about the game, the guys at Salt Cricket Academy have worked with these schools. It is not a surprise that Salt schools are actually dominating this. It is because now they are handled at a young age. But obviously, one of the things that I saw, especially with the bowling, is that I feel like the coaches, or maybe the association, need to be very, very intentional on how kids are taught the bowling skill. Kids were throwing the ball, not actually bowling. Of course, at that level, you can let things pass, but I think if we need to have a better group of players growing up, it is very, very important that they start young with the actual right skill, bowling skill.
You want them to grow up with the right sort of habits.
Yes, and you don't want to correct that at a high level. So I think that the association needs to be intentional about how these girls and boys, by the way, how they are taught the basics of the game rather than correcting it at the top.
Yeah.
And I say that because the current under-19 and some who have gotten into the national team, the bowling skill is lacking. You could see that with the elite league that the girls playing, the elite girls playing, the bowling skills are not really that good. And I think the association needs to be intentional about teaching that skill properly, because in the long run it is going to affect the results that are going to happen. So if a girl comes out of high school and this how she has been bowling the entire time, then when she gets up, it is very, very hard to change.
Yeah, and for me as well, in my other capacity, one of the things that I saw there is that it is going to be difficult for us to produce players who are going to present the national team from that sort of system. I think the players are really at a foundation level, honestly, foundation level. So it's going to be difficult. You need a layer on top of that to help the young girls, to scale up and improve on their skills. The heart is there. Yes. I saw girls from Kasese and Mount Renzori even crying when they are, in my opinion, I'm like, Mount Renzori, you're still learning. I think tears are not necessary at this stage, but it shows you that the heart is there for them. They are willing to play, but it's very, if we're not intentional, it's going to be difficult for us to ever qualify for those Junior World Cups again if we don't do something on top of what is already there. There are bare minimums the teams work with. They don't have enough equipment and things like that. So you really see they want to, but you need to. They need a lot of hand-holding from Uganda Cricket, and that means more work for us. But I think those are good problems to have. They're better than not even having players. But if you have players, then you can start from somewhere.
And you see, then obviously, I don't know how Musana started that academy in Soroti, but if you had a hub like that, I think around Kasese, in that Midwest or whatever that region is, I think there is a lot of love for the sport that is growing around Kasese, Fort Portal, and all that. If you put that kind of hub there, I feel like you could get some very, very good cricketers out of that region. Obviously, the girls around Mukono will get the benefit of being very
Being
near
close to
that,
Kampala,
very
yeah.
close to Kampala, and you can easily send there whether national team players or something to do some sort of outreach programs within the schools, and they will be quite regular and cheap. But those up-country places may need to have they say a coach who is going to, whether talent intervention or something like that, who is going to be monitoring wherever, whichever school where cricket is played, and that has happened. If I mean the girls have to a little bit scale up and come to a level where look, it is okay, we can play at this level, but then before you put up that next layer of competition, at least the girls up country schools and all that have somebody who is actually monitoring the progress that is happening, and so and so when that is done, I feel like in a period of 5-10 years, now the sport will have grown, and you have two sorority cricket academies, and that will now help the sport to grow at a level where you can work with.
Exactly, and one of the facilities at St. Joseph's College, Rugby, properly dedicated to cricket. I was even surprised. I think the school dedicated it to cricket, and it's up to Uganda Cricket again to make sure that we can be able to build on it and be able to improve on it. But those are some of the photos from that week-long activity in Gulu, which was really a very, very good experience for the young girls, and hopefully that they can take away so many memories from that tournament. And next year, hopefully, we shall be back in Gulu City or another city, but I'm sure we shall be back in Gulu City because the experience was really enjoyed by everyone. I want some of the girls. You can see there, Irene Mutoni. She plays. You can imagine facing Irene, who's been bowling against
Namibia,
and you're facing her in a schools tournament,
and you're just learning how to hold the bat. But then one thing that I want to find out, there is stuff that you can't see. On a stream, but when you're actually on the ground, you can see. You talked about how there is a bit of disparity in terms of quality from the schools that are up country and all that. But if you look at the actual schools that you think you're talking GSS, Massachusetts, of course the sorority schools or and Light High, especially the top players, how good? Of course, you moved around and seen young girls on the continent. How far away are they in terms of skills, at least?
No, I'll tell you, Franklin, we're not so far away. We are very, very close. What you want to work on right now is that 1% that will give you an edge when you get to the competition. Yeah. But in terms of everything, we are very, very close. We saw some fantastic catches. The bowling was good. I think the only skill that they're still lacking, which is also a very difficult skill, even the cricket cranes struggle with it, is really the batting. So we didn't see so many runs, we didn't see half centuries or sixes. But now those are things that you need to improve on. But bowling and fielding, the heart and commitment, everything is really there. So there's good work being done by the development. But like the Budonians say, Gachali Mabaga. So there's so much work done, but there's a lot to do as well. So there's still a lot more work to do with those junior cricketers. But they have some really fantastic talent coming through, and I hope Uganda Cricket can be able to nurture it.
How was St. John's not able to?
St. John's, unfortunately, that's where they were really undone by the weather. I think they were a better option in terms of qualifying for the semi-finals rather than Sacred Heart. Not that they never deserved it, Sacred Heart. But St. John's were undone by 2 games where they had washouts, so they didn't score any points in those games. And then the one loss that they had in that particular group was really a heavy loss to Olida, who ended up topping the group. So that they finished on the same number of points as Sacred Heart. But their net run rate had taken a big hit in that one loss. So, unfortunately, they missed out on a semi-final place. But their 2 players, their captain, Shadia Gringish Nabulime, who was played for their 19 girls, has really improved. And, of course, when you have Irene Mutoni in the team, she can scare she can scare everyone else. So, they were decent. But even them, I think they are improving year in year. They've been close to the semi-finals this time. I think sort of was probably their third time at the qualifiers, and hopefully, I mean at the finals, and hopefully you feel that later on they should be able to start to push for a case to making the finals or even winning the title itself. So overall, I think for me it was a good experience. I like being around young players, and I hope that later, in 2 years down the road, you want to see a young girl from Kasese now representing Uganda, and hopefully that comes to happen in the near future.
Yeah, you want to talk about, obviously you want to have an interaction with especially the schools that are coming at the tournament for the first time, and you want to know what are their teachers, or should I say sports teachers, thinking about this kind of experience that they had.
No, we spoke to the teachers, and one, they love in the past, cricket used to be played in Kampala only.
Yes.
I think they love the experience of having to go to different places. Yeah. The biggest problem for schools, and it's a problem of cricket in general, is the cost of maintaining the game. Cricket equipment is very expensive. Yeah. So in terms of cost benefit, one ball versus one cricket bat. One cricket bat can buy as many as 10 footballs. So sometimes schools will make that decision very quickly that, for example, Mukono Kings couldn't qualify refused to come. They qualified for the finals, but because they had also qualified for the football finals, and they feel that football is more, I think it's more of their representative sport, they chose to go for football and decided not to come for the finals. So, those sort of decisions in terms of the cost of coming for a cricket tournament. But I think overall the schools just need our support as well as Uganda cricket. Yeah. If we can't do that, and then cricket will just keep growing in those schools.
Okay. Ideally, what you're saying is that the equipment, UCA should be priority.
Exactly. And the schools are actually complaining. They're like, why are we 16? We need to be many more schools. Because we don't want to come in the regions and leave our partners that we play with maybe more regularly. So there's work to do for Uganda cricket, but we shall get it done. Hopefully, a
politician has spoken.
We shall get it done. Franklin is diverting us. But we are joined by Edwin Kayukule, who is our usual panelist here. And this time we're going to be talking about everything football. Since we're with the schools, we shall stick with the school. We shall stay with the schools and talk about the Uganda secondary schools championships that are happening in the eastern part of Uganda, hosted by Ngora High and Bukedia. Kyle, bring us to speed. How have our schools? We spoke about it sometime on this particular show as well. The Kampala schools that went there, but I think Kitende is still in that competition. Chibuli SS.
Bukedia Comprehensive.
And Bukedia Comprehensive. But give us a lowdown. What's happening in Ngora?
Yeah, but unfortunately, I didn't have a starter.
Yeah.
And
no, please, you allowed one.
And I came here prepared to give flowers to a few volleyball personalities. Of course, this weekend, it's been the finals of the playoffs down in Rwanda. And at least we are happy to say that as Uganda, at least we are represented, that one of the ladies that I think has played volleyball for quite a time and has achieved much in Nembawazi, who plays for Police, they managed to take the trophy for the women. And on the side of the men, at least a former boy of UCU, a friend to Franklin, quite good height, Angiro, he has the mood, he's always happy on that court. With his team Reg, they managed to finish third, clinching a bronze medal. And when he was interviewed, he kept saying that he has learnt a lot since he switched from Uganda to Rwanda, and he attributes that to the courts or the quality of courts that he's been playing on. And that goes back to what we've been talking about often, that the courts in Uganda don't allow a volleyball player to become elite. Simply, you're going to just learn a few attributes of the game, but you're not going to become a superstar because there are things you can't do. You're not going to go down to save a ball when you know it's Maram down.
Yeah.
You're not going to go for that hard spike because whenever you're jumping, you're affecting
hurting
your knees and
yeah.
ankles and stuff like that. So when we look at how players leave the country and become better, it's a plea to the country at large and people who run the game that we need to improve a few things, because when you look at the talent, it's there, but I think we can make it much more better. Then
again, you see, we are completing Hoima.
No, I was actually going to tell Kai when he said the people who run sports, I was going to tell him we have had you.
Sure.
It is very difficult to play to your limits when you're playing on hard surfaces. It doesn't matter what kind of sport. Whether it is football, it is challenging to play on artificial turf rather than natural ground. Very, very challenging. And for volleyball, it's even worse. Look, when you have a libero, who is probably the most agile player on the court, and he's required to go down and dig a ball on a rough surface where you can come up with a bruise, it is very difficult as a player to apply yourself on that kind of surface. And you look at our league, most of it is played at another court in Zambia, once in a while in the warehouse in Old Kampala, and then Lugogo probably for the finals. I think if anything, at the moment, I think the National Council of Sports needs to make sure the indoor sports actually use the indoor stadium, at least define the way of harmonizing on how this facility is used. But when you have
doesn't that affect our performances when we go for these international tournaments?
Big time.
We saw how Libya had a very good facility and
to host a continental championship.
Anyway, there's work to do there's work to do, but at least we've shown there's intention from government with what we are seeing in Hoima, and hopefully that all the other sports can be able to benefit from that.
We have seen the designs.
We shall wait and see. But Kyle,
but still about volleyball here locally, we are into the playoffs, and surely there's been 4 entertaining matchups. But when you look at the side of men, while many thought that Nemo Stars will find it easy against KCC, it was quite a tough one. And I and many others who are big fans of that KCC libero, we surely enjoyed the game because he kept digging those tough balls, but also Ngaiwawo Mubidi for his side. But it was not enough to see KCC through. So on the other side, Spurs found it easy to go past UCU Doves, which didn't go so well with me. But at the end of the day, we shall have what many call the best matchup of volleyball in the country, where Spurs will be taking on Nemo Stars in yet another one. Of course, when you look into the league, Nemo Stars somehow surprised Spurs with that 3 straight lead, which I think will not be the same case in the playoffs finals, because the two sides have greatly evolved. While one had a good show in the Zone 5, the other quite had not good, but you can call it a decent show in the Africa Championship. So we are waiting to see what will be happening in that matchup.
Right.
Edwin has purposely skipped the fact that even the UCU ladies were beaten by Spotters, but it is okay.
Proper alumni.
No, but I said let me look at the men.
But Edwin, speak about the championships in Ngora. How is the competition going? And this time, at least, there's very little noise about people complaining. Get out, come in. You lost yesterday. Okay, you come back.
Yeah, surely the competitions down in Ngora have literally been good. Of course, the only thing that I'm not happy with are the crowds. When you look at the crowds we've always had for such championships, these are crowds that make the boys proud to represent, but also go on that pitch despite the different challenges that they face. Because you see, this is a championship whereby you're leaving your school, you're going into a different environment for a full week, and you're just playing football. So surely the crowds play a big part in such a championship. But in Gora, there are a lot of positives to pick. First of all, I'll thank the organizers for at least making sure that they stood to their promise, because while we were having live draws, they announced that they were going to give every side 2 sets of jerseys, and it's been a challenge that you could watch a school play at the nationals and they only have top jerseys and the shirts are different. One is on blue, another is on green, another is on yellow. But this time round, we've left that confusion for the coaches, sports tutors, and what. But when you look at the boys that are on the pitch, they are surely smart. And this time round, you feel USSSA has at least done a great job to see that these boys at least have jerseys on time. Then when you look at the side of action, we've not seen those balloon scores of 15-0. The only score that was quite ballooned was that of Budo, and at least that was one among the many. So you continue to see that the quality between the so renowned schools and the upcoming schools is continuously reducing, and that is we give thanks to the coaches, but also the sports tutors that go on to scout these young boys, but also give chance to different coaches to see that they work around with the boys. So surely you see good games. Today morning we saw a game between Jipra and Meta SSS. Meta SS is a school in
Jipra is Ginger Progressive.
Ginger Progressive.
For those that don't know.
Yes. Ginger Progressive has a boy who is just coming from the under 15, the captain that guided Uganda to the World Cup. So you could feel with all that experience, there would be so much a difference, because these are also boys that play for Bull, the junior team for Bull. So surely you would think they are way, way better. But Jipra had to squeeze to see that they score a very late goal for Jipra to go past Meta. Currently, before coming on set, I was watching a game between Bukedia Comprehensive and Chandondo SS. Chandondo SS is a new school, though it is attached to KCC. But when you see how these schools keep getting close, you surely give flowers to the coaches. And we are waiting to see who will go on to take the championship down in Gora. We are excited because we are going to have a matchup between Chitende and Chivuli in the quarterfinals. These are the best two schools you can talk about, because Chitende has the most trophies, and then they're followed by Chivuli. When you look at these two schools, they've given the country lots of talent. You will talk about the likes of Alan Okelo. You surely know they're coming from Chivuli. You talk about Julius Poloto. You will surely know they're coming from Chivuli. You talk about Nafian Alionzi, and the list continues. Then when you go...
There's something interesting that you talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, saying AKS is now associated with Chadon. We have always known them to be associated with Chibuli in the past. When did the switch happen, and how? Is it because of the holding midfielder?
No, KCC are attached to Chadondo as a school. Of course, Ijara comes from Chadondo and he plays. And somehow I'm very disappointed that Ijara has not played today's game against Bukedia, because I feel it could be different. But when you look at KCC, they are attached to different schools that are around Kampala. And when you see, they always pick talent from those different schools that they are attached to. Of course, many have known them to be closely attached to Chibuli, but they are attached to more than one school. And Chadondo is one of those. When you talk about the equipment and a few things that Chadondo uses around playing and what, you will know that most of them come from KCC as a club, that they always give them balls, give them jerseys, give them training facility. And surely we thank KCC for doing that, because it is spreading the beautiful game.
We,
But
we are happy to help.
yes, surely. But I was still talking about the big matchup between Chibuli and Chitende. On the other side, Chitende as well has nurtured a lot of talent, and they come out to brag that when you talk about the different clubs that are in the league, surely you will always find one who has gone through the gates of Chitende, and that's going to be a big matchup. But the biggest disappointment also comes that the defending champion didn't manage to go to the round of 16.
Kyle, I want to inform you that I'm a host of this show, so I have my questions.
Oh,
No, I was going to ask you that some of the big names have fallen along the way. Amos, which one of the teams we expected to sort of be at the business end of the tournament, out, as well as the defending champions, St. Juliana. What do you think could be? Is it what you've mentioned that now the competition is very, there is a very thin line between winning and losing. If you come up, even if it is a school that you don't know from, let's say Iva and or anywhere, they can easily beat up on you. Is it that the competition has become now very, very stiff, and teams have actually leveled up? So it's not a championship where Amos is going to come, Bukedia, Chitende, and they start bossing around everyone.
Yeah. First of all, for Amos, there was a great change when it came to the technical team. Malinga, who was formerly at KCC, was quite a big part in that school's success, surely, more so in the last championship that happened in Masaka. So when Malinga switched to Budo, they got a Kenyan gaffer who has also guided them in the division league, in the regional league that they are currently playing in Eastern Uganda. So when it comes to Amos, I think the change of the technical teams has not been that good. The Kenyan man struggled to know how football or schools football should be handled. You felt sometimes you could guard his stars so that maybe they play later games. Then also on the other side, he wanted to see a very total game whereby the ball is greatly passed and all that. Yet, on some of these surfaces, they will not allow you to have that fancy game. Then for the side of among the big schools, I also want to put in Kawempe, which was eliminated by Bukede, because Kawempe were finalists of Kampala region. But somehow, because the matchup came against Bukedia, remember the boys, the biggest part of that Bukedia team is made up by Prosper, who also play for Express as a side. So these are boys that have always found themselves around the pitches of Kampala. So they knew each other. But also it goes back to the coaches. On this side, you have Sally, who was the assistant coach of under 15. On the other side, you have Ayub Khalifa. These are coaches that know each other. So the game was very close, and it was just separated by a goal. When you talk about the defending champions had a team that was basically Vipers junior team by the time they won in Masaka. That is a side that had the likes of Wanyama Simon and boys that were more like the junior team of Vipers. So after taking the trophy, most of those boys crossed to the senior team of Chitende. So these are the boys that now you see in that side of Chitende. So St. Julian had to come up with
Completely new team.
a completely whole new team. So Felix had a very big job to do. Of course, St. Julian gets most of their boys from Rays of Grace Academy. And this is an academy that keeps producing and giving away. When you look at the likes of Enoch Luima, who has been quite an improved player for Vipers, these are some of the products that we've seen from Rays of Grace. But before you conclude this topic, I would like to applaud Chitende for the first time in quite a long time. We are seeing them play total football. Thanks to
we're about to start charging you for all your school alumni. You're always making sure you give shout outs to them. But frankly, I don't know.
It is rare
Masaka,
to see
I'm
Chitende pass
starting
the ball in the
just, league. I don't want to call it devil advocate, but I'm just thinking. Last time when the tournament was hosted in Masaka, it was hosted at Shark, Chitovu. Chitovu is sort of a bit central. I've never been to Ngora High. I don't know whether it is just the proximity of the school and sort of like the trading center that can't allow even passers-by to sort of... I saw one of the games when we were in Gulu. That Gulu public primary school is along the highway. So people would sometimes park their borders, have a look. Maybe they don't understand this. But that's different for football. You'd assume that for football, guys know that there's something happening at Ngora High. Let's go and try and support the kids. The lack of crowds, because really Masaka was massive last time. And if Kyle is mentioning that this time that, the crowds have been non-existent.
Look, we understand the fact that football is a popular sport, but it's not popular all across. There are football mad regions in Uganda that we know. There are football mad regions, but that people will automatically come, okay, because the community generally loves the sport. We're talking central Uganda, areas around Jinja, Mbali. These are guys that like their football, and they will always show up regardless. But also when football is around Jinja, or should I say central, I think there are more people who are associated with the top schools that are involved than say in Ngora. Okay, a local chap is not really familiar with Chitende, is not familiar with Chivuli, is not really familiar with St. Julian and these central schools. But I mean, is not that familiar with Jipra and the rest of the schools. But if you put this tournament where guys are real familiar with these schools, they will definitely show up. They will definitely show up. Okay, because one, it's not new to them.
Yeah.
And look, if a local school goes out very quickly, it even makes it harder.
That was the biggest challenge. On my side, that's what I think.
Harder.
Yeah.
For guys to come, because everybody who comes around is going to ask, hey,
it just takes down the
just takes
morale
up
of the
all
whole
the
tournament.
steam and all that.
Yeah, but that and more from the schools championship will be coming up next week when the tournament concludes, like Kyle has mentioned, now at the quarterfinal stage. But most definitely, if you keep reading Kawowo Sports, you know who will be the champion of that school's championship that's happening down in Ngora. Franklin, thank you very much, because now we'll be going to be talking about the Uganda Cup and the road towards the finals of the Uganda Premier League season. Be defining week, especially if you are a Vipers fan, because they will be on the road to Hoima to take on Kitara in two very defining fixtures. One, a Uganda Cup semi-final, second leg, and the other a league match, but which both games have to be won. I don't know if they can take a draw in any of them, but they need a result in both games. Vipers winning the first leg by 1-0 at the St. Mary's Stadium in Chitende. A very, very late goal scored by Eunice Sentamo after Chitara had been very, very resilient throughout the whole game. I think Chitara were also guilty of missing a couple of chances in that particular game. And if Ismail Chionga had been the striker, maybe we would have put out one of those. But Chitara will now have to do the job at home. The defending champions of the Uganda home, they will need a win in that particular clash. Let me start with Kyle and find out from him. I don't know why. What did Vipers agree to this sort of arrangement? In my opinion, it feels a bit unfair. Yeah, defining week in the season of Vipers. If they want to become Salongo for the second time, they will need to win two very key games for them in Hoima. One in the Uganda Cup, which is the second leg of their semi-final, and then the other a league match, which they have to make sure that they are able to win. First of all, Kyle, maybe I'll just find out from you. Vipers, did they agree to this arrangement? Is it because of cost? because sometimes, at least if you play one game, you need to first come back home, regather your thoughts, and then go back for the other game.
It's not up to
What
Vipers.
was the thinking of
It's not
the
up to
UPL?
Vipers to agree, but I think the fixture was already made, and the UPL just adjusted to make these
Or they
games a
adjusted
bit
to
easier.
accommodate
Yes.
the Uganda Cup.
Yes,
the
and
Uganda Cup.
what we are seeing this season is exactly the same thing that happened last season. Though the difference is last season it happened at the quarterfinals level, so it was only one tie, no away game to Chitenda. It was just a game down in Chitara. By then they were still in Masindi, which ended in penalties, and then Vipers played later. I mean, the two sides played later, and Vipers won the league game. So the difference this time round is that Vipers have a bit of liberty to pick a point from the league game, and then finish it from Bright Stars, which I think is not the same last time that they badly had to win
They
the
needed
league
both
game.
results.
Yeah. But this time around, I think while you look at the two games as must wins, of course the Uganda Cup, they still have liberty that if it ends as a draw, they'll still go through because they won the earlier game. However, in such games, when you go with that in mind, still it might play.
I don't think if you go and play for a draw, you lose.
Exactly.
You're better off playing for a
Exactly.
win.
So they're going to be hard games. But looking at Vipers and the way they lost against Bull in that game, you felt Bull were the better side in the biggest spell of that game. These are going to be quite hard games. And if Chitara can manage to beat Vipers, then they'll have set up another tough game whereby many will be saying, okay, Bright Stars, you've been relegated, but can you go down as heroes? Can you go down by pulling off a shocker? So it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be an interesting game, and I would like to welcome Koja Ismail Chionga to this episode of the Weekly Wowos. We are talking the road to the finals of the Uganda Premier League season, as well as the Uganda Cup. I've categorically started with the journey of Vipers because I feel they have the work to do. KCC won 3-0 in their first leg against Kataka in Nogogo. But for Vipers, there are two things they are chasing. They're chasing the Premier League title, of course, trying to wrestle it away from, let's say Vida don't have the opportunity of defending their title. But being in Salongo for the second time, also having to make sure that they do well against Chitara, same side in the second leg of their semi-final. Do they have the resources to make sure they can sustain a game on Wednesday and another on Sunday?
First of all, when they lost to Bull, I think the Neutrals did celebrate because we don't want a league that ends with 3 games left. So it was good that they lost to Bull. Of course, the Vipers fans out there will be like, you would have finished it a long time ago. Then we got Chitara playing the league game on Wednesday without any pressure. They believe they can win both games, but of course, they don't have to because even drawing both games leaves them with a chance to still have a dream of being a Salongo for the second time. The first game on Wednesday has 2 impacts. One, the winner psychologically gets the boost ahead of the game on Saturday, which is a knockout game. Secondly, when Vipers played the neck, I was speaking to the chairman, the president of Chitala, and he was a bit saddened that Vipers won. Yes, Deo Kasozi, because all he wanted was Vipers go to Chitala in the league game when they still have everything to play for. And his players were answered by the fact that Bull did them a favor. Of course, the gap is still wide between them and second place to neck, that they can even afford to lose that game, by the way. They can afford to lose the game against Chitara and still win the title if they overcome Bright Stars in the last game, which looks realistic. However, you don't have to take chances because we know in league football, you never know what to expect. Bright Stars have been a little stubborn whenever they faced Vipers. Of course, this time they faced them without any pressure. They are already relegated, and you never know what happens. So Vipers would like to finish off the job on Wednesday. However, like I said, it's more of a psychological game that takes you to the big one on Saturday, because if say Chitara were to win that game on Wednesday, psychologically they go into the game against Vipers on Saturday with psychological edge, and same with Vipers. But like I said, Vipers do not need to win both games. All they need is a draw. So it's going to be tough, especially the first one after losing to Bull. The question marks will be on the teams that both coaches will field on the day, because I'm not so sure that both will field their 8 teams. But of course, they will need to win to have that psychological edge coming into the Saturday game.
Yeah.
But the most important game for me is the Uganda Cup. Vipers lead. Chitara haven't been scoring. Before the win against Maroons, they had gone 5 games without scoring a goal, drawing 3 and losing 2 of those. And also, overall, in the last 7 games, they had scored just twice. In the win of Bull in the Uganda Cup, which was a late goal, and also in the loss to NEC, they did score 1 goal as well. I remember they scored first before NEC came from behind to win. The biggest problem has been goals. And they face a team that rarely concedes, because we rarely see Vipers concede more than once.
Yeah.
If they do, Vipers keeps clean sheets and they always get that odd goal. I tell people that the difference between Vipers and the rest of the teams in the Uganda Premier League has been the fact that they have a lot of match winners, even when they don't play well. Alan Okero can win your game. Karim Watambala, the return of Kalisa has already proved to be very good to them. Remember that game against SC Villa. Then they also have Yunus Sentam. He rarely scores a lot of goals, despite the fact that he's one of the best center forwards in the league for me. He rarely scores a lot, but when he scores, they are always important goals, like you saw in the first leg. So a lot of match winners. Chitara have a boost of Carbon Living returning from injury. They missed him a lot, and going by the rules, they are also going to miss Taita Sematimba, who scored in the win of Maroons. He will play the league game, but he's suspended for the Uganda Cup because of the red card he got in the 1-0 win of Bull in the quarterfinals. So it's going to be tough, especially for Chitara. They have to score and also make sure they don't concede in the Uganda Cup game. The league game, not much to talk about it, especially given it does not matter a lot to either side. Vipers, yes, want to win the title on that day, but also they can afford a slip up and still win the title. But the cup game, it's a must win for Chitara, or at worst, make the game 1-0, then go into
and I was also going to ask you, Chiyonga, because I know Kyle is not a Chitara fan. I was going to put it to you. If you are Waswabosa, what would you prioritize for Chitara? Is it the cup game or the league match?
Of course,
or you want in front of your own fans, you want to show that we belong with these guys, so I'll beat you in the league game and also wait for you on Saturday and finish you off.
Of course, the Uganda Cup game is the most important. However, Chitara has tried to create a rivalry with the big boys. You saw when they play KCC, they always want to turn up. Not so much has been created between them and Villa, but with Vipers, they have a lot to settle. I remember last season.
What about Bull?
With Bull, it just happened, and I remember that was the first time they beat Bull, by the way, in any competition. They've never beaten Vipers in 90 minutes. So they will want to have that win as well, because their only win came in the Uganda Cup where they drew and then won on post-match penalties en route to winning that maiden Uganda Cup for them last season. So if you are Wasabosa and Chitara, you want to win the league game, because winning that ensures that the fans are going to return in big numbers on Saturday.
So Saturday, yeah.
Lose that, there will be a little disappointment, and you never know, because the nature of fans is they want teams
And I
to
think
be
for
winning.
Chitara, it also puts a lot more pressure on you to do well on Saturday, because now that is your only other opportunity.
Yeah.
of
If
trying
you
to
lose
win
on
something.
Wednesday, if you Chitara, psychologically, Vipers comes into that game already champions. That's one. Two, they say you never beat us. So you want to win the game on Wednesday. If you Chitara more than Vipers, Vipers want to win the league on that day. But for me, the two games are equally important to Waswabosa. Although, if you tell me to pick one, it's the Uganda Cup, because that's where they have a chance to win anything this season.
To win silverware.
Yeah.
Kyle, if you are Vipers and you're Luyinda and Fred Muhumuza, what would be your pick? What do you want to prioritize? How do you play your cards to make sure that you get both results? Because one result could affect the other. If you lose on Wednesday, you come into the game on Saturday with a lot of doubt. But if you win on Sunday, you know, you're, like Ismail has said, you're the champion already. You have the head start. The home fans, you've dealt with them. They have a low expectation of their own team. But if you lose on Wednesday, the fans come on Saturday in bigger numbers, more loud, because they know they have an interest now. They know they can be able to beat up on you. How do you play your cards? How does Luyinda and Fred Muhumuza play their cards in terms of making sure their journey to Hoima does not derail their whole season?
Of course, I will not defy a lot from Chiyonga, because, winning is more like a habit. And if you keep yourself winning, then there is a way mentally you're ready to win. Like, it's more like a habit. And losing can as well become a habit. Because if you're coming into this game on Wednesday and you've lost against Bull, if you lose against Chitara mentally on Wednesday, you've gone down, because now those are back-to-back wins. And I don't remember a time we've seen Vipers this season lose back-to-back, surely. So it will be...
They have not, but most times when they don't win, the games say today, they don't win the next game. I'll give an example. On the opening week, they lost to Neck.
And drew against
Lugazi. I think they won the next game, but then drew against Lugazi. Then when they lost to Villa, they did not beat, is it Express?
Yeah, it was a...
So,
2-2.
They always want to win. When they don't win, it always affects their performance in the next game and results.
Yeah, so I think both games are equally very important, because Vipers will...
Interesting statistics.
Yes,
from Chiyonga.
yes, Vipers will want to return big and get better. But also, you have to look at... Vipers players have not been good on natural turf. They've a bit struggled, so it will go back to the coaches to see how they balance their playing stuff. But if you ask me to pick one game that you think the team should win, it will be the Uganda Cup, because...
Yeah, but talking about struggling on natural grass, I think they've lost more games on AstroTurf than
carpet.
on natural grass this season.
Yeah.
They lost at
Nachivubo.
Neck. They drew at
They drew
Nachivubo.
in Nachivubo, yes.
They lost on the same turf in Injeru.
Yeah.
So their only loss away from the AstroTurf is at Villa.
Yeah, but
Tuankuluku.
yeah,
Yes.
but Chiyonga, what I'm trying to say, look at it from a general perspective of how they've played. If you remember the game against Maroons, it was won, yes, but it was a very close game. Of course,
But even when they're at home, in the last 10 matches, apart from the win of
Mbale.
Mbale, they've not had it easy. They always make things difficult for themselves. One, by not taking away their chances. Two, the opponents, I think it was only Mbale and Neck where they won comfortably. But of course, even the next second half, we saw they suffered.
Yeah, it was
1-0 against Villa at home, 1-0 against Lugazi, Then
Wakiso.
Wakiso, they just survived because this boy, Haddison Imbalile, did not put on his goal scoring boots. We saw them struggle against Chitara. So the last games have been just decided by individual brilliance, but not as a team. Could be fatigue. Could it be playing under pressure, especially when they're at home? Because we know the big man is always seated somewhere, just like he was at Njeru, by the way. Dr. Lawrence Mulindo does not watch a lot of games away from home. I've only watched him at Wachiso when they play Wachiso Giants. He has always been there. Once in a while, he's in Wankurukuku, and then he always watches bull games. I don't know why, but his team does not win when he's around playing bull. He was there, maybe waiting to give the guys all the bonus that is promised, and he left.
But Chionga, last season he was also in Masindi.
And
for that league game that they won 2-0.
And I think he's going to be there for these two games.
And just to give our viewer context, he arrived when the teams were getting out of the dressing room. He sat just next to the door of the dressing room. So when players were getting out, you could literally see the man here. So it was a bit of a mental boost for the team, but also quite a hard one for the referees because it becomes a bit tough. You now know that the ground is a bit shaken.
I'm going to put you guys on the spot, and but I can imagine for Vipers, imagine if they win on Wednesday, they are confirmed as champion. The man comes with your 150 million. Here's your promised guys share. On Sunday, if you finish the job, there's more from where this came from. So, but I'm going to put you guys on the job. Is Vipers getting both wins on the road? I'll start with Kyle.
I don't think they will get both wins.
What are you giving them?
I think
a win in the league or a win in the Uganda Cup?
I think they'll get a draw and a win.
Where?
I find the win coming in the league game and then the draw in the Uganda Cup game.
Chionga?
I think both games are ending in a draw.
In the draw, both games ending a draw means Vipers progress to the final of the Uganda Cup.
Yes.
Is that the same for you, Kyle? Vipers will go to the finals.
I still think Vipers will go to the finals.
Interesting. Okay. The second leg, the other semi-final is a clash between my beloved KCCA and Kataka. KCCA winning 3-0 in the first leg. Chionga's given me a very terrible look. But don't worry, I'm the host. But do you think KCCA will be able to finish the job in Mbale? Let me start with Ismail. Or is there a surprise that Kataga can spring up on them?
I think the job was done in Lugogo. But you know, away games are always tough, especially when you lead 3-0.
Where does Kataka host from? Is it from the Mbale Stadium?
Yeah, the Municipal.
Okay.
Mbale Municipal.
The Municipal. Kesis has been there this season and they beat Mbale 1-0. Yeah. In a game they really dominated, but
wasted a
never
lot of chances.
Turned those chances into goals. However, the biggest question will be, KCC will now be the team under pressure because everybody expects them to go through. I'll give an example of Man United against Bilbao. After winning 3-0 away in Bilbao, everybody thought this is a done deal. However, because Bilbao had no pressure, they came. The first half, United fans can testify the pressure they are on until that Mason Mount goal. So, KCC have also struggled away from home, especially on such grounds. But such grounds is where their journey has been defined throughout the campaign. Remember, they started away, I think, in West Nile. Then returned to West Nile. Started in Karamoja.
Went to West Nile.
Played one game at home against.
Is that Homeboys or
was
something?
it
Renzori
Lions? Then they went to Karokarunji. For people that watched that game, it wasn't as easy as the result shows.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was tough. So the big question will be, if KCCA concede first, how will be the reaction? Remember, they have a lot of players, I think over 5 or 6
from Bali
on yellow cards. and that booking means they will miss the final, probably against Vipers, which I predict to go through. So that makes it a little bit difficult. However, I'm confident they will put up a professional performance. Professional performance means you don't have to win. You may even lose, but still go through.
Yeah.
So that's how they'll be managing that game. It will be tough for Kataka to score 3 against KCCA. It doesn't happen always because in the past, since they appointed Abdallah Mbiru, and also the time that Magera has managed, apart from that loss away to Chitara when they conceded 4, KCCA rarely conceded more than 2. So I don't see Kataka overturning that. KCCA will be in the finals, and I believe, and I still believe, I've said this since the round of 32, they will win it.
The way you're gonna cup.
That's my belief.
A prediction there from Ismail Chionga. But you'll have the final word, Kyle. KCCA, Jackson Magera doing a good job in an interim position. They put 5 past Wakiso Giants. Do you think they will stumble?
No, I don't see them stumbling, surely. When you look at the previous
They struggled
3...
to score against Kataka. It was eventually the goals came, but it wasn't as easy as everyone thought.
Yeah, but still you feel there is a bit of a chill mood in that dressing room. Like, you see most of the players are now, I think, wanting to take a say in this game. Of course, we've seen now the boy who has come on full mode, and that is Anyama, who I still think has a few things to work on himself, but whenever you're scoring those goals, at least one thing that you take as positivity is that the confidence will keep rising. So when they go down to Kataka, surely it will be easy job. Don't lose with a deficit of 3, and I think that is an achievable assignment for them.
All right, from Ismail and Kyle, you got Vipers versus KCCA final in the Uganda Cup. But as usual, make sure you keep it Kawowo Sports, because we shall give you all the updates from what happens in Hoima and also what is going to happen in Mbale during the second leg of the Uganda Cup between KCC and Kataka. Vipers take on Chitara in their second leg. That's a game that's happening on Saturday. Vipers won the first leg 1-0. But on Wednesday, Vipers will be playing Chitara in a league match. So just to make sure you don't mix up the two things. But you've heard from the experts that they feel that Vipers has enough to make sure they get away. They leave Hoima with, one, when they are league champions, and secondly, when they made the final of the Uganda Cup. But that has been our time on another exciting episode of the Weekly Wowos. I've had very amazing guests today. I started with Joseph Muhumuza, who was previewing the final of the rugby league. Franklin Kawero, Edwin Kyle Kule, and our very own Koja Ismail Chionga. My name is Dennis Musali, and until next time, make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports.